Hey, Pastor Bill here with the next in our series on eldership qualifications, which are the baseline of what it means to be a Christian. And so as we look at what pastors and elders should live up to, these are kind of the standards to be examples for the whole church. Today we're going to focus on, there's 4 qualifications that are really in relation to self. And so some of them are in relation to God, some to others. And this is toward who is the guy, what is his character like, and so they all kind of hang together. There's a concept of being temperate or sober-minded that kind of flows through several of the qualifications. So in that, the list is temperate, self-controlled, not given to drunkenness, and not a lover of money. So in all those kind of hang together. It begins with temperate, that in order to be an elder, and all Christians really, but in order to serve in leadership in the church, we should look for guys who are mentally and emotionally stable. That's what temperate means. You don't want somebody that's going to have wild swings of emotion and be on a roller coaster, because they'll take the church with them on that ride, and those kinds of things can be really difficult and divisive. The second one is similar, self-controlled. And so self-control is something that we all have a basic concept of when someone's out of control in their lives and make bad decisions and are undisciplined, and because of that we see how lives can fall apart with a lack of self-control. And so as we're looking at elders, this is something that's held up, that you want a man whose character represents that he is self-controlled, that he has discipline in his life, that he makes good decisions. It doesn't mean he never makes mistakes, and it doesn't mean that he's regimented and militaristic about his life regimen. There's flexibility and nuance within this, but generally you want a guy who has a disciplined life and makes good decisions. And that really feeds into 2 areas here then. It says not given to drunkenness and not a lover of money. And so the first is a man that's without addictions, someone whose life isn't being thrown away to addictive things and addictive substances. And so drunkenness here, it has connotations to alcohol, as obviously the clearest jump that we make, that you don't want somebody whose life is characterized by drunkenness. That doesn't mean that we don't enjoy the gift of alcohol. There's Christian liberty there. And there is, God has given wine to gladden our hearts. And so Christians can make their own personal choices on whether to drink any alcohol, but drunkenness is a lifestyle that is characterized by an addiction to and being affected negatively by an overuse of that gift. And so that addiction really can carry out more broadly than alcohol as well. And as we look at elders at Redemption Hill Church, we look for men who don't represent addiction to anything, that they aren't escaping life using anything, whether it's work or whether it's another substance or whether it's whatever it might be. We want people who are temperate and sober-minded and self-controlled, who have discipline, and that it shows up in a lack of addictions in their life. And that feeds into the last one too, not a lover of money, that money is one of the most addictive substances that we have. And that can, so we want someone that's not a lover of money, and that can show up in a couple of ways. It can show up in rampant materialism, where somebody just wants more and more stuff and is never content. It could show up in rampant experientialism, where someone is never financially able to keep up with their own hunger for experience. It also can show up in miserliness, somebody that clings to their money and doesn't show generosity. We saw already that hospitality and welcoming people in and being generous in hospitality is one of the character qualifications of an elder, and sometimes a lover of money will cling to their money. Sometimes it's never enough, and sometimes it's all that they think about. And so that's almost an addiction in and of itself. So these all come together that to paint a picture of the kind of man that should be equipped and modeled after is in serving the church. Somebody who's temperate and stable and financially content and upright and content in who they are, that they don't need to escape through substances and addictions, and that they have a disciplined life, someone that is worth emulating, and that has the kind of character that people look at and is worthy of respect, both within people inside the church and outside. So that's the kind of person that you want in a leadership position. It's really the kind of things that all Christians should strive toward, because we find our contentment ultimately in Christ, not in money. And we find our contentment ultimately in Christ, not in substances or other escapes. We want to live the life that He's given to us and be content in those circumstances, and not get too high or too low, but be able to turn to Christ with both our sorrow and our celebration, and to be self-controlled as we live life for the sake of His fame and His glory. So that's the next one in this eldership qualification series. Thanks for tuning in.